would apologize beforehand about the lateness of this vlog. And as retribution, here was a man getting injured in the bollocks. Everybody dance now, cause I called it!
Baby, do you really enjoy shocking them?
Oh, here it comes.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Power Rangers vlog with the episode Recipe for Disaster. From what they had, our Rangers basically worrying about a food critic at the first part, and my thoughts is, do they have food critics for restaurants inside a museum? Since it's more like, I'm thinking it's more of the museums or whatever building's job to make sure the food's up to standard. They have food critics doing this? Okay, I'm not judging food critics and all that, I'm just questioning that logic. And for how they treated the food critic being there, fancy. They had like a fancy table with a fancy thing, cover over it, and Tyler was all dressed fancy. Do you ever miss the days when food critics were actually more of like ninjas, where they just literally walked in, ate whatever they were given, and then wrote the review when they were done without anyone noticing? Instead of doing a flashy entertainment. It's actually kind of making you think, they're screwing with, not screwing with you, more like they're just doing this so they can get a good grade, instead of just showing their normal attitude. I miss those types of attitude. And besides, they mostly just serve burgers and fries from what they're showing in the series. Anyway, Chase decided to be all fancy, since I guess he's the cook. A cake called a pavlova. I'm trying to pronounce it right. And it had a habit of exploding. My first thoughts was, really? A cake exploding? The only way it will explode if it was due to a prank, but it was later explained his Energem is causing this cake to explode, which leads to me some questions. Why? Why is the Energem causing the cake to explode? Well, cake exploded in front of the critic's face, and they are getting a bad review. And just at the same time, Chase discovered his Energem fell into the cake batter when it was being made, exploded, and landed into her purse. What are the bloody odds? Over at Heckle's destroyed ship, Wrench introduces the new monster, Fortress. And okay, I'm trying to get through this. Wrench made this monster. Please explain to me these rules, Power Rangers, Saban, whatever. Explain to me. Do you create the monsters, or do you capture the monsters? In Sentai, it made sense. They created the monsters. They were all just created. But in Power Rangers, they keep flipping between, I created this monster, or we captured this one a long time ago. Well, anyway, they just customized Fortress to be a giant Megazord, basically, with Heckle steering it. And Singe came back with his Master and Master's Apprentice. Anyone else want to do a Jedi joke? They always come into a Master and Apprentice. And we get the actual villain to the series, Lord Archon. I'm trying to pronounce his name right. It's been a while since I seen it. And his design, does anyone else think it's an evil Statue of Liberty creepiness? And Doomwing. And because of the fact that I've seen Sentai, this is the reason why I did the Call That Dance. They gave the info to this guy. While those three show up doing a one-off, you just want to see a tumbleweed walk, skirt by and doing the boom, boom, boom. Well, over on their side, they had Fury, Heckle, Wrench, and Fortress doing a square-off, and we learned Archon actually hired Sledge to capture these monsters. So that's leading to another thought. So what? Archon literally put down a list of these criminals he wanted captured, and he will pay Sledge. Is that how bounty hunting works? Because last time I checked, I thought it was the government, or whatever runs in space, has to pick these people because of these reasons, and the bounty hunter's job is to grab them, take them over to the government, and there, they collect their money. That's it. I didn't know there was also works for people who do evil goals. Yeah, they basically have a massive square off, and the Lord Archon side summon the Megazord for combat. Which, yeah, I called it. This was gonna happen. I just didn't think it was not gonna be used on the Rangers. It was being used on Heckle's side. But due to the fact Heckle had Fortress, a monster customized to take on any of the Zords, yeah, the new villains were getting their butts whooped. And when the Rangers found out the Zords were basically stolen, they were freaking out like, what the hell is going on? All that freaking out. And they even tested it out thinking, okay, maybe they just made copies of their own Zords. No, these are their Zords. Because Riley flung his power charger and it flew back to his hands, stating that, no, they have control of the Zord. Sorry for that pause moment. Which would have been more funnier if it would have clocked them for that joke. Well, during the Megazord fighting, Chase found the food critic and saved her from some falling rubble. And somehow, because he saved her, she gave him some helpful advice. Change up the recipe. Maybe this time, Chase, you don't use your Energem into the mix. Like, put it in your pocket like a normal person. Don't wrap it around your neck like a necklace. But yeah, the new villains were getting their butts whooped by Fortress, and they used every type of Zord combination they could think of. Well, except that Plesio, T-Rex. I can't pronounce the Zord's name. This one. They didn't even use the Titanozord, they just said screw it and ran off. Lucky for them, the Rangers got into the Zord and got back in control. And yes, it did. They kept getting their butts whooped. And Chase thought of the idea, let's change it up. Which, now you think? Combine the Megazords with the Titanozord, making a new Zord, and after seeing it, well, both me and Dolman saw it. Dolman had the best response in saying it. It looks like they built the toy first, then the Megazord was designed second. Because this looks like nothing but a toy in this whole look. Pieces of the Titanozord basically on top, with basically used as pieces. Well, you can just see the design as it is. It just looks more like a toy than it would look as a Megazord. And because of that new fusion, bam! Fortress is defeated super fast. And while Fortress is destroyed, Heckle's laying on the ground injured. Archon basically just took control. Took control of the whole ship, so it's now, this is the ship now under new management instead of the original old management. Heckle's put back in solitary confinement, and it ends off for the villain side that Archon has something glowing in that book he's carrying. Serious moment. I'm thinking it's the Dark Energem, like anyone else would notice. For joking aside, Heckle's secret stash. Over at the museum, for all that niceness, Chase decided to make the pavlova again, using his grandma's recipe. I think she said change up the design, not the ingredients. Using an old-fashioned recipe is not changing it up. It's just whatever. I should have mentioned earlier that the reason why Chase felt a little bit more determined to do this was because of the fact that this is a New Zealand dish, and the critic insulted Chase's New Zealand heritage about this food. I don't know if this is a New Zealand dish or not. I'm not going to go all cultural nitpicking and all that, but I'm pretty sure if it's more of like the cake's explosion was more of the Energem's fault and not yours, Chase. Like I said, just stick it in your pocket when you're cooking so nothing else will explode. Namely the burgers and fries you usually make, or milkshakes. I forgot about milkshakes. She ate the cake and said, in that style of, sounds negative, but it's actually positive, you're going to need to make more of these for all the people who are going to enjoy eating it. And they discovered, since the villains had the ability to control the Megazords, they must have got the information, they must have captured the Silver Ranger. So now, are they finally going into space to talk to the Silver Ranger, or is this just going to be more faffing about? The question is, why do we need the food critic and the cake? Because it's really not needed except for Chase to say, we need to change up the formula of how we fight. When you guys used mostly the T-Rex, Plesio, Pachysaurus Zord mostly, and in this case you guys were using the Pterosaur, the Black and Green Zord, sorry I don't know the dinosaur's name right this moment, and the regular Zord mostly fighting for this one, so it was changing up the formula. And fusing with the Titanosaur, now we're going to be seeing that mostly used in combat now. The new villains, okay, Lord Archon, hopefully you show a better job as a villain than just getting your butt whooped by the Megazord. By Fortress, I mean, not the Megazord. And then just, like, dropping the idea of using the Megazord. You can still use the Megazord to defeat the Rangers, just basically hijack the Zords, but nope, you told Doomwing to throw away all the Chargers. Smart idea! And so now we're leading to more questions of Sledge. He was nothing more than the equivalency of the Minion's minion. Okay, basically his job was to gather up minions, while he was a lower ranking compared to Archon. And Singe was also working with Archon, so it's more of a question, why are they all fighting when they're all working for the same guy? And I'm guessing all of Sledge's people are basically doing the whoever's the strongest is going to be the one leading. I don't blame them, since we saw Heckle basically vaporize one monster when he first became leader, and all Archon did was just throw Heckle in solitary confinement. So, okay, let's see how this evil villain's going to be working out. All I can state is, hopefully Saturday's episode will give you more info, and hopefully they'll go into space already instead of just faffing about down here. And next time I'll try to make the video come out on time. Sorry. Till then, this is Ross. I said